No? Well, we've had a blonde bond in Daniel Craig, so I thought it'd be time to have a bald bond. No, not really? Oh, okay. You can't win them all. Anyway, the reason I'm mucking about being Bond is I'm parked exactly where the Aston Martin DB5 was parked in Skyfall, in the scene when he drives down to Skyfall itself. So I've parked down here, and the reason I'm down Glen Etive is Glen Etive is such a stunning glen, it really is. And it always gets overshadowed by its bigger brother Glencoe. But there's actually some really stunning locations down here. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to head on down Glen Etive, and I'm going to show you my top 5 locations down Glen Etive. So come and join me and let's see the top locations of Glen Etive. Okay, stunning Glen Etive is absolutely beautiful location, and it's great for landscape photography, it really is. It does get overshadowed by its bigger brother Glencoe, and a lot of landscape photographers head that way. But come on down here if you can, it's at a fantastic location. Now it's 13 miles from the top to the bottom to the top end of Loch Etive itself, and we are going to head that way. And I'm going to show you these 5 beautiful locations, and I might chuck a couple more in, depending if I see any ones that are of interest, but we're going to try and get these first 5. It is single track all the way down, so if you're not used to driving single track, just be aware of that. Stay on the left hand side even if the passing place is on the right, and always look a bit further away from your bonnet, and if you're the nearest one to the passing place, then drive to it and pull in. It'll save you after doing all that reversing. But it is a great location. Now the only downside with Glen Etive in the last couple of years is they've installed these hydroelectric schemes. So there's 9 hydroelectric schemes, little micro ones, gone into the tributaries of the River Etive. I've got mixed feelings about it because as a landscape photographer they've damaged quite a lot of the landscape around it. But then again, you've got to break an omelette to make some eggs, and it's cleaned up a little bit, and you know, a lot of the little huts and that are all in little bunkers and that, and the grass is grown over some of them now. So I think eventually the landscape will recover, and then we'll be generating clean and renewable electricity. So I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it. Now this first location really does suffer from the hydroelectric scheme because this was the base. So I'm just past this sort of James Bond sort of Skyfall sort of pull-in, and then you'll come, and they've built a brand new bridge here to access the new scheme. So you're going to have to park at the new bridge. Just find a place somewhere to park, and I'm just going to say this is single track, so don't park in the passing places. Although I will say Glen Etive is really good because they've got some really long passing places, so there's enough to get a car in and then still leave access. So there's plenty of parking down here, but just be a bit savvy, try not to block off the passing places. So you're going to come on down to this section, you're going to get to this bridge, and then what we're going to do is we're going to walk over and head up, and we're going to see a fantastic waterfall, which is one of my favourite waterfalls of Glen Etive, and that's just because you've got the mountains in the background looking over, and it just makes for a great shot. Okay, I'll go and get the dog, we're going to head up that way, and let's go and see our first location in Glen Etive. Okay, so you walk past the bridge and then you head over and you'll see a little track leading to this big waterfall. You'll hear the waterfall first, so just kind of walk to it, it's fairly obvious. And when you get closer, there's a little bit of a bank that you have to come down, a few little leg breakers, so just be careful with that. And I'm getting old, no! So I've had to put my glasses on, and I've got some new glasses, so I've got varifocals now, so it was a bit dodgy coming down there because my feet ain't quite where I thought they were. Anyway, I've survived without any broken ankles, and I'm at this beautiful location. So the plan is I'm going to get this waterfall here. I do have the dreaded yellow container, which I knew it was going to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to clone a little bit of that dirty landscape out and just put some nice landscape in. In a year or two, that'll all be grown over and we won't see it, so it'll be fine. But yeah, just right now, there's a little bit of dirt and muck about on the side of the photo. Cool, I'm going to go and have a look for a composition then, and let's see what we get. Okay, so I've got quite a nice composition. I really like this one. It's beautiful. I'm looking into the sun a little bit, so definitely going to have to be some bracketing going on here. And I've got some stuff in the foreground as well, so I might have to focus stack again as well. So there's a little bit of work for me on this one. And of course I've got to clone out all them horrible bits in there. I'll flip you around and show you what I'm looking at. And so there's the camera there, and I've got this lovely waterfall. And then what I've got is I've got this crag in the bottom here, look, can you see that? So this rock here, and the jointing of this rock kind of guides the eye to where I want to go. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to make the eye look at the waterfall with that jointing as well, and then I'm going to guide the eye down, and we come around a little bit, wrong way, so we come around and it'll guide the eye down the river and off to the bridge. I do have to be careful. There's the container, so that's annoying. There's a couple of signs I'm going to need to clone out as well, and also some idiot's parked their Tesla over there. I don't know who that is. What a plonker. So so I'm going to have to crop that out. I might actually just come before that. I've got this tree here, which is okay, but I think I'm going to crop it out because it's just too much, and sometimes you can get greedy. So I'm probably putting too much in the shot there. So it's that motion, that waterfall in the left-hand side, and then it's going to drift on down and guide your eye down to the bridge and then under the bridge. And that's going to give me some real depth to this photograph, which is what I'm looking for. Okay, I think I've got a nice shot. I'm going to have a look at my shutter speed. So we're going to try a few different shutter speeds. This water is very fast, so I've got to be careful. If I make it too slow, it's going to come out as really milky, and then we're going to lose all those textures and detail in the water. So it's a fine line. We're going too slow, maybe 1 second might be too long, and then maybe a 15th of a second is going to be too short, and I'm going to start seeing the sort of droplets and that and looking a little bit dirty. I've done a lot of waterfalls in the past, and the key with waterfalls, and I can't say this enough, is you're either blurring it or you're freezing the action. So you're going to have to go for a shutter speed of what, say 200th of a second to freeze the droplets there, or you're going to have to deliberately blur it. If you're halfway house, it's neither one thing or the other, and it looks a very amateur shot. So make sure you're either blurring it or you're freezing the action. Obviously I'm going to blur it because I love a bit of blurred water. Okay, I think I'm good. I'm going to set it up. I might pop a polarizer on here, and if this shot works, here's the shot. Stay. Okay, the next location we're going to do on my top 5, and this is a bit of an unusual one. You won't see this very often at all. It's very rare to see this one, but I really love this shot because it just works. So you carry on past the bridge and then you come on down and you'll do a couple of bends and you come down a bit of a long straight and then you do this big U-shaped bend all the way around and you'll see in the distance this funny mountain and then you'll see this waterfall and this cascade off to your left. Now there's a really big passing place here and there's plenty of room to park, so if you get yourself here and park on up, and then what we're going to do is we're going to head on over this way and we're going to get this lovely sort of cascade of water, and I'm really going to slow this down. So this is my number 2 location in Glen Etive. So let's go over and go and see if we can find a good composition. Okay, so once you've parked up in that lay-by, then walk on across, you'll come down this very slippy bank, and then you'll see this kind of cascade of water here. And what you'll also see is, you see this little funny shaped mountain here, that's a volcanic plug. It's the inside of a volcano which is solidified, and then the volcanic ash around is eroded away, and you get this nice little funny shaped mountain. So it's a lovely little mountain up there, and then you get this lovely cascade coming down as well. So find a location. You kind of need to get fairly close to the edge because we're not really going to put any foreground in that. So this is a big drop, so just be careful at this location. But it's a one that I've very rarely seen. I don't think I've ever seen this anywhere apart from my own shots. And yet it's a little hidden gem. So get yourself down here and get yourself set up for a nice composition. Okay, that is just a fantastic shot, it really is. I'm so amazed that there's only me ever got that shot. I never see it anywhere. Google it, you'll never see that shot anywhere. So get yourself down here with a bit of light and some maybe a bit of snow on the top. It's going to be a fantastic shot, it really is. Cool, okay, I'm getting a bit chilled, so me and the dog are going to get back in the car and we're going to head further on down Glen Etive here, and we're going to go to a little lochen called Lochen Ur. Okay, so let's jump back in the car, get some heat in us, and let's head to the next location. Okay, so I've driven a bit further down Glen Etive and I've gone past the estate house, which is called Dalness Estate. So that's the estate house there, and you carry on down, you come up a little bit and then you go over this brow of the hill and you can see down to your left the loch in itself, and then you head on down and you can see there's like a little gate on the left hand side and quite a big pull in. So if you get your car in here, you're completely off the road, which is good, and you can pull into that gate and walk on down there. So we're going to head on down that way. A nice interesting fact about Dalness Estate itself, the lodge itself. Some people always think that's what was used in the Bond film Skyfall, but it weren't. That was in a sandpit down in Surrey, I think it was. But the estate lodge itself, believe it or not, Dalness Estate was owned by the Flemings, as in Ian Fleming, who wrote the Bond books. So it's quite an interesting story. And actually, nobody really knows where he wrote some of the books down there, but what he was doing, he knew the area of Glencoe, and actually when he wrote the book You Only Live Twice, where James Bond gets killed at the start, then what he did is to try and advertise the book. He did an obituary in the Times newspaper to say, James Bond is dead. And in the obituary he said James Bond's dad was Andrew Bond, and Andrew Bond was from Glencoe. And that's because he knew the area. He'd obviously stayed down on his family's estate. So, yeah, so quite interesting, really. OK, enough of that. Let's get down to the loch and let's see if we can get a great composition. Okay, once you come down the track a little bit, you'll come to some rhododendron bushes. Walk on through. Now you've got a couple of options. You can turn right and that'll get you through the bushes, and then you can see this little island in the middle of the loch, which makes a lovely reflection shot. I don't like it though because it overlaps the buckles, which I think is the main event for this shot. So for me, if I come to the loch and turn left, you work your way around the shore and then you're looking for some foreground interest just to give some depth and perspective to this shot. Once you've found that foreground interest, you can get yourself set up. So you can see where I'm set up. I'll flip you around. And there I am, look. And I've gone into portrait orientation because I'm using this boulder here. This boulder here is some foreground interest. And I've got the wide angle lens on there. So that's allowed me to give you that distortion, which gives me that nice effect. Now what I've done is you'll see the ripples here. So there's a little bit of wind, but not much. But these ripples are just sort of coming along a little bit. Now, the problem with that is it don't give you quite a nice effect. You want that sort of perfect effect, don't you? So what I've done is I've popped on the filter and I've put on a 6-stop filter here. And what that'll do is then it will slow that down and it will sharpen up these ripples for me. Okay, I think I've got a good composition, a bit of foreground interest, some lovely reflection of the Larry Garton and the two buckles here. And then as we come up, we've got the actual Larry Garton and the two buckles there. There's a tad bit of light on the wee buckle there. So I'm just going to wait for a bit more light. And I think that's going to work really well. Okay, if this shot works, here it is. So welcome to my fourth location. Now you're driving on down the road here and then you're coming near to the end of the loch and you'll come over this lovely little bridge. There's a nice little stream and what you get is a bothy here called Coolacian bothy. The trouble is It got done up a few years ago and it was beautiful. It was a really old tumble down thing, and it was all part of the Catanacks that owned it, the family that lived down here. An old wifey Catanak was fantastic. She was an old, sort of haggled sort of face, and I always tried to get a shot. She used to have a little sheep and sorry, not a sheep, but chickens and stuff in there. So, and she'd be in the cottage door all haggled. I was just like, this is a fantastic photograph. But I never got one because she was always a bit unhappy when we were taking a photo. Anyway, a few years ago it got all done up, and now it's actually a bothy that you can rent out. So what scuppered me today is it's a Saturday and unfortunately it's been bloody rented out, isn't it? So there you go, that's all the cars parked there, so that's not going to be great for a good shot anyway. But what you can actually see is why it's such a good shot, and I'll come on round, is you get this lovely sort of tail of the road leading line all the way to the loch, which is fantastic. So it makes for a great shot. The only thing you've got to be careful of is there's another house at the back there that also got renovated. So you're going to have to do a little bit of work there, cloning that out, just to get rid of that. But it is a wonderful shot and a great leading line. If you get on the bridge where I'm standing here, hopefully no cars are going to come, you get that lovely lead in, it's wonderful. And then you get the Glen Etive there, and if you get some nice light, it's a fantastic shot. I haven't got a brilliant shot of this, I'm afraid, right now. I'm going to rake through my archives and see what I've got knocking about. I might have something that's black and white from the old days before. There was a little shed that was on the side of it, I think at this side, and that's been knocked down there. So I'm going to rake about, see if I can find anything. But you can see even in the photo with that beautiful light coming down and that leading line, if you're up a bit higher, look, that's beautiful leading line. It's just a fantastic shot. So this is my fourth shot of Glen Etive of the top 5. But you've got to be lucky because now it's being rented out. Quite often you see cars in front of it, which is a shame. Okay, I'll show you the shot if it works from my archives, and if you like the shot, here is my old shot from this. Okay, this is my final location. I've driven all the way down Glen Etive and I've come to the car park. So you kind of pull into the car park. Sometimes it can be quite busy. It's actually quite busy today, seeing it's January. But pull yourself in there, get yourself parked up, and then walk on down to the loch, and then you kind of head up towards Loch Etive and the top end of Loch Etive. And the good thing with that is you're looking sort of due west, and what that's going to give you is a nice sunset. So this is the ideal location for sunset. Now, I would prefer no wind at all, and then you can get these lovely reflections, which are just amazing. But I've got a little bit of a breeze kicking in here, so it's not going to be as good as I like. But also, one other thing to consider is the tide. So the tide can make a bit of a difference here, because this is obviously a saltwater loch, even though we're a long way from open ocean. And depending where the tide is, it kind of reveals different boulders and foreground interests. So you might want to keep an eye on the time and have a rough idea where it's going to be when you arrive for sunset. Cool, okay, I'm going to head on over. Let's get some good comps. The light's looking great, it really is. So hopefully it stays like that. Just like I say, I could do with a bit of reflection, but hey ho, beggars can't be choosers. Okay, so I've walked down to the loch now, and you get this beautiful vista looking down to Ben Cruachan and on the way to Oban, and it's a fantastic little view for sunset. There is a boulder here, so this big boulder here, that's very dominant right now, and that's because the tide's about halfway in, so there's not much water around it. You can see there's not much water around the bottom of it. So if the tide's quite high and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, it's actually quite a good bit of foreground interest. But the only trouble is today, yeah, it's not as great as I'd like. So I'm going to move over and find a little bit more foreground interest. But the light is looking fantastic. It's going to be overexposed here, so I'm going to have to bracket probably. But it still looks pretty good. Ben Cruachan there in the distance actually is quite an interesting mountain. It is a hollow, they call it the Hollow Mountain, and it's because it's been hollowed out and there's a big reservoir at the top of Ben Cruachan. And then what they do is it's one of these emergency hydroelectric schemes. So say we all finish watching some football match or something like that and we all go and put us kettles on. So the national grid need power immediately. So the reservoir then is open, the gates are open and the 4 turbines start spinning within 4 seconds apparently. And that instantly puts power to the grid. So it's like an emergency supply, which is a fantastic idea and a great way of doing it. If you ever get a chance to go and have a look at Ben Cruachan, see we're on a James Bond theme, go and have a look at it. It is definitely like a James Bond set, so it is really good to go and have a look around. And they do tours and stuff like that, so you can go into the mountain and drive on around. So definitely worth it. Okay, the sun's setting okay. I think we've got some good light. So let me go and find some comps here. So what a great shot there, really pleased with that. Not kind of my style, a little bit more fine art, but great all the same. So I'm so pleased for you to come and be with me for today and spotting my 5 great locations of Glen Etive. A very overlooked glen, so come on down and find some spots. Now, if you've got some locations that I haven't seen or haven't mentioned, then please write in the comments below and I'll go and search them out and see if they're any good. Apart from that, thank you so much for watching. If you just stop what you're doing, head on down, see the little thumbs up icon, give a click on that. It makes a massive difference to my channel. And great news, I've now got 1,000 subs, so I'm so delighted. But if you really want to see more content like this, head on down, click on the subscribe button, and if you click on the bell as well, you'll get a notification every time I post new content. I would love to post more every week, but I just simply am too busy. But it's great to do them every now and again, so I'm pleased I have you with me. Not much else to say, but thank you very much. Come on down Glen Etive when you get the chance, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't even think about it. You know what you're after. It's not going to happen. Don't even think about it. Yes, you.